Well, see, this is why even when I go on vacation, I still at least bring my laptop and I bring all my recording equipment because I can't leave Lasengle alone for more than what? Literally a day before they're like, so you know that whole like pre-release campaign we got going on? What if we just threw quite literally every single summer servant at you guys right before Summer 6? I mean, for one, I'm kind of happy about this because I need another shot at trying to get Squirtoria, but on the other hand, I kind of wanted to go for Anastasia or Corday, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that now because it looks like I'm going to be spending all my Saint Quartz on these banners over here because they've quite literally brought back nearly every single summer servant. Like, one that you'll know is absent is going to be Summer Jean, but she should be coming back for like an Apocrypha celebration that's going to be in like, I don't know, like a month or two. So I understand them not bringing her back, but dude, these banners are absolute bangers. If you're someone that was like, you know what, I managed to get out of, the anniversary and Lost Belt 6 with relatively, not a whole lot of damage done to my sanity and my funds, well, unfortunately, you're gonna have way too many banger servants coming out here because there's a lot of servants over here that are just flat out worth summoning for. I mean, if you don't have a decent arts looper by now, like if you don't have, say, Space Ishtar, or I guess you don't want to go for Summer Kama for some reason, you need one right now, right this very second. Musashi is still really good. The only thing she struggles with is like, say, Berserkers, kind of, because she doesn't have a battery as extra insurance. Like, say, when I was using NP1 Ibuki, sometimes for Berserkers she would get like 94% back, but it's okay. She has that extra battery, so she can make up for it. Someone like Musashi doesn't really have that, but her raw NP gain is usually good enough to get her through any single node. Like, she can pretty much push past and be a really good farmer that I was using for about the last year over on NA, and I just recently swapped the Space Ishtar because I got her to Bond 10. Like, that was the only reason I swapped over. It's just I got her Bond 10 and I was like, I kind of want to use somebody else. But she is still an incredibly good servant. She's also really, really good for challenge quests. Like, you wouldn't expect like a looping servant, like an AoE looper, to be really good for CQs, but she's built really well for those. I mean, I know some people meme on like the one dodge that she has, but that one dodge and the guts is generally enough for you to push through and just absolutely eviscerate all the enemies. I took Summer Musashi against the Summer 5 CQ, I believe it was, and I just turned it into a farming quest. I thought it would take like 2-3 runs. No, just got it on the first try because she has Pierce Invul, so she just ignores all their defensive buffs. She just smacks them because she's a berserker. She just makes those really, really easy, right? So she's still insanely good. BB over here is also ridiculously good. One of the examples I always bring up is that like some people struggled with the end of Lost Belt 4 when it came out versus the tree and Asphotamen. But someone like Summer BB could literally turn that into a farming node with someone like, say, Parvati, and just make it the easiest 3 turn of your entire life because her third skill is still ridiculously good. The ability to lock the cards in place for 3 turns still allows you to do all sorts of just crazy, broken, ridiculous things that you should just not be able to do in FGO. She is still a very, very strong servant. And if you have her at higher NP levels, people will tell you you can't do it, but you can use her to Buster Farm. Look, people will be like, look, her damage isn't high enough. Dog, I am using Morgan to Buster Farm right now, and you can say that she's NP5 type neutral, like with no damage mod. I guess not type neutral, but no damage mods. She doesn't really do all that much damage. So if I can get by with like Morgan, I'm sure that if you have a decent enough NP'd like Summer BB, God forbid you also like, give her gold foes and everything like that, and you grail her, that I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be okay for like the average node. So you can even use her for that. Her value even extends to that. And she's going to get a buff in the future that also makes her even better, right? So these two are like really insane high value servants. Before I talk about some of the other 5 stars, there's also, as you'll see on the banner, MHXX is right here as well. MHXX is still one of the best arts DPS servants in the game. She is capable of just absolutely nuking people into the ground. And now usually I'm not a huge fan of just a 1 turn of like this mighty massive big damage, but because she actually just does such a ridiculous amount of damage, it's actually kind of worth it. Like, the damage she can start getting to is absurd, right? Like, she's really good against threats against humanity and stuff, which are like the hardest fights in the game. So like, she's just ridiculously good. If you are able to just pick her up, if you're going on, I don't know, let's say I think she's on, which one is she on actually? She's on the summer BB one. That's ridiculous. So if you're going for a unit that's already good anyway, and you pick up extra copies of her, that's just redonkulous, right? If you pick up just a couple of copies of her, she will do you very, very well. I mean, I have her at like a couple, I think like NP2 or 3 on JP, and she's really nice. But even on NA, I have her at NP1, and she still puts in work for me. Someone else that you'll also notice that's here is Melta Lilith, right? You'll see that she's on rate up over here as well, and she's really good as an art slooper. But one of the problems is that you want to get numerous copies of her, because she's kind of like Summer Mordred, where they're both exceptionally good loopers, but at low NP levels, they might loop all of their NP back, but they might not actually kill the enemy. So you want to get them at higher NP copies, but look at that. They're on these really, really good banners. Although she's on Ruler Artorias over here, and I know that I am her greatest defender. I defend Ruler Artoria just to the grave, because I don't think she's actually as bad as people make her out to be. But you could definitely do a lot better. Like, you can use her to buster farm, but you have way better options. The card shuffling thing is very convenient to use, because you can force people out of the card rotation to pretty much guarantee, say, if you are using a something that I did recently was a Waiver Merlin and Ruler Artoria setup. I don't remember why I was doing it, but that was something that I was doing for like some setup for one of the events as of late. And I was able to just completely push Waver out of the card pool because I had all these crit stars ready, and then she just came in and sucked them all up and then did a really good crit turn, right? So that is just a very convenient, nice skill to use. Giving everybody NP gain is also nice for like your Merlins and, you know, your Waivers over there, because you want to get to their NPs because they're also really nice. Just neat little buffs they have. There's a little bit of like, I guess, thought that has to go into using her, because you do have to like time the Royal Bunny thing, but let's be real, we've been using Ishtar since like what, year 2 or something along those lines, like early year 2, something along is when Babylonia dropped. So we're used to using delayed buffs. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that hard to use. And if MHX is, or not MHX, but Melta Lilith is going to be your prize, then you know you're going to make out like an absolute bandit. Then we kind of have like the 3 over here, and even though I'm like kind of mentioning them like last, I don't think they're bad by any stretch of the imagination. Squirtoria is still really, really good. The only thing that I think she kind of struggles with is that I wish her damage was a little bit higher, but over on JP they were like, oh, don't worry, we'll probably buff her damage next. We just gave her a battery and sure hit, so she just got even more just consistent at looping her NP like 75 times. I just consider her like proto Melusine, where Melusine can really consistently do like 6-7 NPs in a row. It's like sometimes you might miss an NP here and there with Squirtoria. It's not like super common because she just refunds a lot on her own NP, as well as it just being a numerous hit like art single target NP as well, so overkill's not that hard to get. She can just fire her NP all over the place. Think of her as kind of like death by like 7 cuts type of servant, but it's not that hard to do, especially now that we have Castoria, who does beef up her damage a little bit, giving her like massive arts buffs. If you can bring her to Threat Against Humanity, she actually does get that extra damage mod, so that's more multiplicative buffs. It's just really, really nice for her. She is still really, really strong. Unfortunately, her 4 stars are a little bit on the weaker side. Not as bad as Kiyohime over here on the Tomalancer banner, which, unless you're just literally me and you really like Summer Tamamo, right, and you're just a huge fan of Tamamo in general, you're probably not really going to use this servant. She does get a buff in the future that gives her like a little bit of a battery and fixes up her 3rd skill a little bit. It makes her a little bit more usable. The anti-male damage mod is still nice, but let's be honest, not a whole lot of people are going to go for this one. Now, Maid Altar over here, I think this is an interesting servant to talk about in regards to should you summon for them. I think it realistically comes down to, do you have Scotty? Because I have used this servant with and without Scotty, and they are just 2 completely different beasts. Like, I remember using her during year 2 when we didn't really have Scotty, so her NP gain wasn't quite as good and she might struggle to get to her NP. But now that we have Scotty, she's just a whole different animal. Like, now she just does really big damage, and you know what, I didn't loop all the way back with my NP. Well, here's just this 50% battery I'm going to drop into you, and then now you're just gonna go absolute hamtaro, and you're just start nuking people all over the place. So they just dropped an insanely good banner, right? Them dropping this is ridiculous, right? I have no idea why they were just like, you know what, now that it's been a couple of days and we dropped the Drake banner, let's drop the real banner, right? And they dropped this on us, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to be summoning for Summer 6, man. I think I'm going to be going all in on this because I really want Squirtoria. I've been wanting her since year one. And there's some other servants that I'm kind of looking over here. I'm like, maybe I could get a couple of extra copies of MHXX. Maybe I could actually get Melt on my NA. There are really good choice servants on here. And it's hard to not try to go for them because Summer 6 is really good, but a lot of the servants just don't have gimmicks, right? They're all just really, really good, straightforward units. Like, Okita Alter doesn't really have an insane gimmick. She's just really good. Anastasia doesn't really have a gimmick. She's just pretty good. Corday has a decent gimmick, right? That she's pretty good at proccing, but she's still just really good. And the same thing goes for like Sei, and Avenger Kama has a little bit of a gimmick with the charm, but realistically, she's just another very, very solid servant. Like none of them are these insane. If you don't get them, you're missing out. Whereas some of these servants can definitely make your life a lot easier, right? If you have Scotty, you can make really good use of Mate Alter. If you want to do ridiculous big brain team comps, BB is really good for you. If you want to clock every boss in the game into oblivion, do to them what Musashi did to herself, you get MHXX, right? And you send them to the abyss. And then if you just want to fire 85 million NPs and you didn't get Melusine, or you did get Melusine and you just want to use an Archer instead of a Lancer, then Squirtoria is going to be your girl. I mean, this is just ridiculous, right? It's going to be hard for me to tell you guys to not summon because I'm not even taking my own advice. I'm going to be summoning on this banner. I won Squirtoria, dude. So I can't even tell you guys to not summon. All I can tell you is that good luck on your summons. Let me know how they go. You know, come back to this video and let me know if you pulled who you wanted. And I don't know, maybe I'll drop some surprise review on some of these servants because people like Musashi, I especially want to put out a video on being like, no, this servant is still really strong. Like she didn't get any worse because of people like, you know, Space Ishtar, people like Kama, people like Ibuki. She didn't get any worse. They just kind of do things differently than she did. And they kind of realistically with Ibuki just released kind of a better version for farming, but I don't know, like Musashi still is there as like a very, very good boss clearing servant, right? Because she has built-in Pierce invincibility. It makes her really nice when you have bosses that say Ibuki can't get around because she has buff removal. And if they have unremovable buffs, then she does get stopped by say like an unremovable dodge for a turn or an unremovable invincibility for like 2 hits or something along those lines, right? So I don't know. I do want to do some servant reviews for maybe some of these. Maybe I'll just like throw out a bunch of videos because, dude, I get really excited when they bring back like all these old servants and I'm also gassed for the banner. I don't know. Be on the lookout for some of those, but I will catch you guys in the next one and I'm gone. Peace, late guys.